This is Pastor Unpacked. Real talk, real faith, real growth. Let's break down life with Jesus. Come on, church, let's unpack it.
What young adults see in Jesus. Jesus speaks their language. Hello, I'm Pastor Bob McCabe from Wadsworth Church Nazarene, and today I have Shelby McCabe and Allison Mizen with me, and they're two young adults, and we're just talking about life here. I'm giving my pastoral perspective, and they're giving their young adult perspective, and so this topic is always not understood very well. Because every generation thinks every other generation is crazy and messed up. Something's wrong with these people. But when you're that young adult, you think you guys are the best and there's no worries, like we're good. And what are you talking about? What's wrong with us? What's wrong with you, right? And so it's interesting, that dynamic of how the world is, and that's not a faith opinion. That's a world opinion of generations, And but what's interesting to me is how Jesus gets past all that. He's way bigger than us when it comes to people, and he knows how to speak to every generation. And it's always surprising to me because we want to give up. Like as people get older, we want to give up on the generation before us because we see how life's going. We're like, oh man, like what's happening? When culture is just changing, but the Lord's not. And so Jesus he adjusts better than we do to changes in culture. And So what do young adults see in Jesus right now?
In Jesus, I see somebody that I can always count on, like somebody that's always going to show up for me every single day. And I don't have to worry about necessarily like how I treated Jesus the previous day. Like he's always going to be there for me no matter what. And I see like my safety net. I see the person I go to when I feel like I can't, like, obviously go to him first, but when I feel like I can't go to anybody else, like, he is my rock through all the good days, all the bad days. Yeah. And that's how right now, that's how I feel about him. He's my go-to guy.
Yeah.
You stole my word.
I'm sorry.
I was thinking, my constant safety net.
Yeah.
Because he's it's like he's the floor beneath my feet. He's what keeps me waking up every day and keep on going, especially in the season that's leaving me more stressed than I've been in my entire life because things are changing and things are becoming new, but he's still a savior that walks on water, and he's walking me through these big emotions and these big changes.
So why do you think there's a movement happening in the church? When I say church, big church, churches across the country, where young adults are coming back to the church. Why do you think that is? Did COVID have an effect on that?
Things in the world are, I would say, getting scarier.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. Like, Jesus is the definition of love and safety, and I think that young adults are realizing that the world leaves you more broken than anything else does, and that Jesus, all he does is try to restore you and love you where you're at, and I think they're really starting to see that.
I agree. I think the world is a scary place, and I think it leaves a lot of people broken down and worn out and feeling hopeless, especially young adults, because like we've said before, that it's just a constant season of change and unknowns, and I think it can feel like it can feel lonely, and I just think people are discovering that you can't turn to other things. You can't turn to things that you think are going to satisfy you, because it just doesn't work. And I think young adults are finding that turning to Jesus can actually really help.
Yeah, it's surprising to me as a pastor to see this change that's happening. Just because in my world I never seen many young adults, and so coming here at Wadsworth, especially our church, like, oh man, wow, like it can happen. Like there can be young people in the church, young adults in the church, and so it's encourage. Young adults encourage the older crowd, even if the older crowd don't want to acknowledge it. I still remember as a teenager, our youth group was a really strong youth group. I mean, we had 30, 40 kids, but we were strong. Like going to youth retreats and camps, like we were always on, because we had summer retreat, fall retreat, spring retreat. So like we were always on fire. Like, and so we always sat up front in the church. Like first 3 rows was the youth group, and we would push the church. We pushed them to pray. We pushed them to celebrate. We pushed them to tap into what happened to them years ago. And so I just remember seeing that happen in the church, and so it was always fun. It was fun going to church and witnessing God move. Then I moved to Carolinas, and it was just totally different feel. Every church is different, and but I think young adults are coming back to the Lord because there's so much information out there that you guys can get anything you want information-wise, and I think you're finding out that the information you're getting is not truth. It's not happiness. And then when you see the consistency of what the Bible says, because the Bible doesn't really point its finger at you. It says it's a love letter. And it's like, love me, then all this will make sense. All this you will want a desire to do. And like we're talking about warnings before, it's like a warning, like cause and effect. If you do this, this is how it's going to affect your life, good and bad. And so I'm glad it just changes. The messages don't change, but the technique does on how we do it. Like my preaching style, right? Let's say my preaching style. I don't know if it would have worked 50 years ago. I think they might have thrown me out the doors, and they would have said, "Just preach the word, and that's it."
Yeah.
We don't need stuff on the stage. We don't need crowd participation, or shout, just shout and talking, like them old school evangelists and stuff. But the Lord adjusted. He knew what the culture needed.
Yeah.
And so he called people to be what they needed back in the 1950s, and now, as we get in 2026, now it's all over the place. And that's what's cool. Is like everybody's unique in their style.
Yeah.
On how they give the gospel, and but that's Jesus speaking into the culture. That's Jesus trying to reach young adults, and I've adjusted too, because there was a young adult in the church told me like 3 months in me being here. If I'm using a visual, I used to hide it until the sermon. Like nobody would see it coming. I'd keep it tucked away if I could. And so but coming here to Wadsworth, I started putting it out there on the stand if I had an object. And the young adult said, as soon as I walk in, I look at that object and I'm trying to figure out the whole time of what I'm going to talk about. But that's when the Lord said to me, it's okay that you're doing that. because it's him. If they're thinking about what the message is, what are they doing? They're thinking about the Lord, right? They're getting tapped into the Holy Spirit and saying, what is he going to use that for? To share the gospel. And like, man, so if I can, I'm putting it out there. Like, here it is. Wrap your heads around it. In about 30 minutes, we're going to be talking. But because we're so visually driven now, our phones, we're so having stuff in us all the time. I just use that. And I think it's Jesus speaking the language that people need. And so it's like your friends that are not in the church, like not in church. Do you feel them like asking you questions, or is that conversation happening a little bit more than usual? You feel like?
Yes, actually. I kind of have a story time when it comes to that question. I have a friend who was in one of my classes, and she is very much so not a Christian. She has very strong opinions, and she doesn't agree with a lot of the Bible and a lot of the Christian things, but she has very respectfully multiple times sat me down and been like, hey, can you answer some of my questions about this? Because I want to know if it's what people say is true or if this is not true. And every time I walked away from it, she's been like, thank you for explaining this in a way that doesn't make me feel like I'm a horrible human being. And I went, of course, this is you can ask these questions and not have it shoved down your throat in a mean way. And she's always been very respectful about it.
That's good. That's awesome.
I love conversations like that. It's my favorite thing to do.
And that's Jesus speaking into the culture. That's Jesus knowing how to speak, and that's what the world's trying to get us away from. They want us to argue and debate when it's okay for us to have different opinions. Because guess who saves somebody? The Lord does, right? We're called to she just plants seeds to that one day she surrenders and says, and then her life changes. And now she's going to be in Shelby's shoes, sharing what she knows to that same girl who walks up asking her questions about this world. So Jesus knows how to pass it on through generations. You have anything else with young adults you're dealing with?
Definitely in high school. I had multiple friends. What makes you so happy? I love when people ask that question because I'm I'm ready for it. I'm locked and loaded. Coworkers too at Giant Eagle, they're just why are you so happy all the time? And I'm oh, you guys got to get in on this. And I don't know if it necessarily, because I find people older than me very intimidating. But I don't know if it necessarily gets them to go to church, but it plants that seed, and it helps, for sure.
I mean, that's all we're called to do is plant seeds.
Yeah.
And sometimes you may be the one that leads somebody to Christ or get them to come to church, but it may be somebody else too. We don't know where we're at on the ladder, right? We're just called to do it. And I think it's why people don't share, because they have this expectation that if I share with them, they better come with me to church.
Yeah.
Well, no, we need to be far from that. Mm-hmm. It's just give them the love of Christ. Mm-hmm. Give it to them. And then they may go to their mama's church. Because the mama's been asking them to come for years. And you share your love to them through Christ. That may say, I need to give them a try. Mm-hmm. We don't know the spiritual aspect of how the Lord's going to use it. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm big on all the time. That's all I talk about, sharing your faith, finding a way to be creative. How do you tie into people's lives? Because he wants to save everybody, he wants to know everybody, but he wants to use generations, every generation to do that. Because we all need it. One day I'm going to be old and outdated, and there's going to need to be, the older I get, it's going to be harder to teach into the culture, because if I don't keep learning and adjusting to what's happening in the culture, I'm going to be stuck and be stuck at 2000 and 2025 when it's 2045 and the world is recycled again, and how do we deal with people? And because one day you're going to be my age looking at 20-year-olds and say, what are they doing? You know, like,
I already do that.
you know, and so like,
Ouch. Not you. You're one of the good ones. It's okay.
but that just shows how much bigger Jesus is than us, because that's how we're naturally going to look at. We can be as holy, and we're still going to look at the next generation and say we're in trouble when we're not. It's just we have to adjust the style to reach people. So can you see that? Can you see that how Jesus speaks to your generation, but also speaks to your mom and dad's generation at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Can you witness that? Can you see that at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Have you even thought about that at all? Like how he helps you handle your problems as he helps your mom and dad handle their problems. Because like I learned a lot when I went to see Ethan a couple weeks ago. Sitting there in an apartment with these college kids for a week. And they got problems. I mean, they got genuine, like, not problems, just growing up problems. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to work? Because they're all juniors and seniors, so they're all navigating life, just listening, come up with plans. And I'm like, that ain't going to work. I'm sitting there like, that ain't going to work. Like, but they got to learn it. Like, it may work. You know, that's me saying that ain't going to work because that's the old timer, right?
Yeah.
But they got to try it. Like you guys got to try it. Like when I was your age, everybody around us didn't want me and Chrissy to get married. In college. They're like, what are you doing? You're in college. Don't do that. Like, wait a year and blah, 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 blah. I'm so glad we did because we had that 1 year of just college and work, no other responsibilities. So it was a great year, but we just got to chill and have one focus. Because when we graduated, life happened all over the place. But I just learned a lot, like sitting there with Ethan, just sitting there and just like, man. And I saw how the world don't revolve around me. For a week, I'm sitting there like, they're going to classes and I'm by myself. Like, what am I going to do? So I just walked around the campus. Nobody talked to me. You know, just like I'm a nobody. You know, and and I think that's what we have to deal with as you guys grow. You're going to find your lane. Then my part changes, and so you guys see that how he knows how to handle you and he knows how to handle the adults at the same time.
Yeah. He definitely adapts to everybody, for sure.
And that's what people don't realize he does.
Yeah.
Jesus, he knows how to speak to us, and that's important to see. So in 2026, how's Jesus challenging you?
I would say he's making me look deeper into myself, to expand my horizons and look more out of my comfort zone rather than in. Like, if you would have told me 3 years ago that I was going to Shepherd this summer, I would be like, you're so funny. I'm not doing that. You're funny. But now I am, and like he's put a level of excitement in me that I can't even express, because I'm like, at this point now I'm excited to get out of my comfort zone. I'm excited to expand the horizons and explore who I am outside of the normal.
I think being married now, this year it's been a lot of, okay, like Allison and Evan, like, what does your faith together in me look like? Like, how are you going to form that? How are you guys going to live a life united, serving me together? Not just Allison serves God and Evan serves God and you guys are just married, but like, what is our relationship with God?
Yeah.
And it's kind of been trying to form that. And it's been very difficult, I guess I would say. We're still kind of navigating, you know what I mean? And I know we're going to figure it out.
It takes time, because
So
Yeah, it just takes time because it's two lives coming as one, and deciding to walk with Him together. It's figuring that out. Because your strength is His weakness, His strength is your weakness, and so and that's why you work. That's why me and my wife work. Her strengths, my weaknesses, and my strengths and her weaknesses. So like we're a good team, and when you're like-minded in the faith, that helps navigate the life decisions that you got to make. Like something cool happened Sunday. When it comes to generations, there's a couple at the church coming, and they just got engaged a few months ago, but he just started coming to church with her, and I noticed something Sunday. He came and she wasn't there. I was like, he came to church without her.
Yeah.
And so I walked up to him before service. He was talking. He told me where they were at, why they had an impromptu trip to go on, so they were gone. But like he came, like all by himself. Like he came. I was like, and I talked to her yesterday, and we talked about it, how she was proud of him for coming, and how he's growing in the Lord, where he wants to come for himself instead of coming for a relationship. Now he's coming because he feels that relationship with the Lord. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. But that's Jesus speaking in the language, like getting past a relationship. I love you. I care for you. I want to use you. And so I was encouraged Sunday when I saw him there.
For sure.
All right, last question. What is the biggest thing Jesus has ever revealed to you in your walk with Him?
Whoa. I know.
I'll tell you, as you guys think, I'll tell you mine. And it's funny. Like, when that was the first thing that popped in my head. And I think it was when I saw Christy for the first time, my wife. Because we were sitting in class. I went to school with her for a year and didn't see her at all. Small school, school of 100, a college of 100. And sitting in class, she's taking notes. I'm in the back taking notes. I look up and she takes her hair and flicks it. And I was like, who is that? But that was the Lord opening my eyes and say, there she is. Because for some reason at 15, when I got saved, right after that, I was praying for my wife. I said, Lord, be with her, protect her, show me her. And when that hair flew, because I was crazy back then. Like, I was all about having fun. And when I saw her, I was like, well, there she is. And so that was like, even past my calling and salvation, just like He revealed Himself, because my relationship with Him, being a 19-year-old kid, that He spoke into my generation, spoke into me and said, there's the one you've been praying for since you was 15. So that was, my wife listens to this show like that. So that was the first thing that popped in my head.
I think He's really revealed that, I don't know how to describe it, like to get out of my head. Like I've spent my entire life so in my head about everything I do. Like my actions, my words, like every single thing I've always overthought or criticized myself on. And He really revealed that I don't need to, that's not my job. Why am I trying to do His job? I think that's the biggest thing, is me doing His job. And He's like, no, that's not your job. That's my job to do.
I would say, sorry, no, I have 2 minutes. Just in doing my career path nursing, I did have one of those moments where it's wow, God wants this for me. Just there was this one exam back in sophomore year that I had to pass. And I prayed so hard. I have never gained such a strong relationship with God through that exam. And when I walked out, like, and I got like a 96, like I got amazing, like did way better than, you know. And it was just that moment where I was like, wow, like God's telling me like this is where I'm meant to be.
Good. That's awesome. And that's the cool thing about sharing our stories. It's the aha moments. It ain't got to be like crazy big. Like it's still life-changing moments for us because it's life-changing for us. But the world would say, "Well, that's nothing."
Yeah.
Well, like you don't understand. When the God of the universe shares that with you, that's huge.
Yeah.
You know, in Matthew 18, just quickly, Matthew 18 is just Jesus talking to the people and saying, "Let the children come to me." You know, he says, because people are asking, who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And then the kids start running up to him, and they're like, no, we're trying to ask Jesus questions. And he's like, look, let them come to me. And that's what he's saying to me. And my generation is saying, let the young adults come to me. Let them worship how they want to worship. Let them celebrate how they want to celebrate. Let them do that because I am with them. And anyone who welcomes a little child like this on my behalf is welcoming me. So we're called to let you in, let her in our circle, let you in the church and help us because one day you're going to be in my position looking at. So I got to help you pass it on, the love of Christ. So what young adults see in Jesus? I appreciate you both. Pastor Unpacked.
This is Pastor Unpacked. Real talk, real faith, real growth. Let's break down life with Jesus. Come on, church, let's unpack it.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.